Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's ArbieG and we are back after a few months hiatus. Let's say a few months. I think it was like November, October last time I actually uploaded a video. But we're back on track. Taking part in a race here in some Gr.3 Beetles, part of Tier 2 for the ART Racing Team, the private leagues that they run. So like I said in quite a lot of my previous videos, I wanted to join some private leagues and stuff where I could get some clean race, and that's kind of why I haven't played on the game for such a couple of months. So thought I'd hop in with this race here and see if I could shake off some of the rust. So we've got away to a bad start after qualifying in 4th place, find ourselves dropping down to 6th place if I remember correctly. Messing around with the TCS and stuff a little bit too much, trying to make sure I had the radar on. Ended up losing concentration with my gearing, but at least it's a clean away and we have a race in front of us. So we've got 9 people on the track, had a 5-minute qualifying session. It's going to be a 20-minute race as we now come into this corner with a little bit of contact with the 2 cars in front. But just sort of trying to keep out of that until we can find a chance to start making a move, perhaps on Jay in front of us, who stuck in front after our poor start. So we're at Interlagos, one of those two things. We're at Interlagos today, which I've never actually raced on this track before, so I had to spend some time practicing it and going up for the first time. So yeah, quite refreshing to come to a new track and with a new set of people and see how I get on racing in a place that is a bit more clean, because I think I just got a bit frustrated with the game, especially in the dailies and the FIAs, that I just kind of thought there's more important things to do in my life than sit and get angry about a game. So especially just for the volume of contact I seem to be having around the mid-range B area. But we're coming around to finish our first lap in this race now. So it's a 20-minute race, which works out roughly to about 13 laps. So we're going to see what we can do, perhaps try and work ourselves back up to 4th place as we sit behind J Lad, who doesn't get a great line through there, and give us a chance just to pull up against him, but not enough there to make the overtake, and we drop back behind him, which gives a Lasernator, I think it is, behind us a chance to perhaps make a move. We're in a bit of a sandwich here, not a great place to be, because anything you do to sort of attack the guy in front, if you don't make it stick, you know, you leave yourself quite vulnerable to what's happening behind you. So precarious a situation, but again, I already feel a lot more comfortable in this kind of race, where I think in general everyone's trying to be clean. So yeah, the Amigos a racing team, joined their community about a week or 2 ago. You might have seen that I've done a couple of commentary streams on this channel and for someone else's. J Lad slips up there, fortunately just pushed himself maybe a little bit too hard, but we're not going to complain because it has given me the opportunity to move up a position, and hopefully can perhaps try and pull up with Chubbs and the 4 guys at the top, and maybe pull away a little bit from a Lasernator, as I got about a second gap on the guys behind me and about just under 3 seconds to try and climb back on the guys in front. But it looks like Chubbs and a Vizine, I think I'm going to call that, yeah, or Vizine, I don't know. So yeah, I really need to work on the pronunciation of names here, but looks like they might be getting into a fight. So if they start getting into a bit of a battle, it's quite a hard lap in general to find an overtaking opportunity, unless someone sort of makes a serious mistake. We've actually skipped forward a couple of laps because it's literally just me trying to grind down that gap, and you can see we've actually managed to increase the gap between us and a Lasernator behind to a nice comfortable 4.5 seconds. I'm pushing up to 5 seconds now, and we've actually managed to grind down the gap a little bit between ourselves and Chubbs. So as I said, these two having a fight has in general brought down their speed and has given me a chance to pull up that gap. So you can see we're in what I found a beautiful KFC livery for the Gr.3 Beetle, which I actually do quite like. I don't know if I'm going to keep it going into next week. So these are races that take place every Tuesday night. They're kind of free for anyone to come and join, just long as you're not a dick, really. That's kind of the one sort of through rule that I see going through this. Or even if you are a bit of a dick, just don't be a dick on track, really, is kind of the general like ethos, I think. But yeah, it's been really cool just sort of having a bit of a community to talk with, and not just sort of joining races and randomly hoping that you're not coming across people who are just going to smash your track because they're bored of it. So we're in slipstream here behind Vizine. Probably not enough to be able to make a move, but certainly enough just to apply a little bit of pressure. See if we can force him into an error, force him to miss a brake mark or something like that. As we just keep ourselves on the outside again, see if we can just get a bit of a better a line out, a little bit more exit speed. But it looks like I've had to come off a little bit there. We're just going to hold this space here with only a few tenths behind after being a few seconds behind. So you can definitely see now Chubbs has got that overtake. Is my opportunity now to try and perhaps move myself back into the 4th place where I qualified in. So usually I do actually run through the qualification and stuff, but as these races are done in private lobbies, normally, like, you know, on the races, FIIs and that, you kind of get a break in between like the qualification and the race, like a 20-second break where you can go into the menu and save the replay. I'm gonna have to work out how to do that, because in the private lobbies, it just kind of, as soon as the qualification is over, it just trips straight through into the race. So I didn't really find how to save the replay footage of the qualification. So yeah, we don't have that, but we have at least the race, which is kind of the main part that you want to see, really. But it looks like Red Vizine's actually pulled away a bit of a gap as he runs himself a little wide there and is coming really tight on that corner. So again, an opportunity for me here to pull up that gap. Grabbed himself a 1 second penalty. Penalties again aren't as impactful on this as they are perhaps in your normal dailies and the FIAs. As we are going into pit, so this is the strategy, going to pit at lap 6. The tyre requirements for this race were either softs and mediums, but you can kind of wear whatever you want. There's no requirement to put on mediums, so I've went for softs and changed to softs. Going for a little bit of fuel, going for about 75%. I'll come out with 77. And as we come out now, we actually come out just in front of a Vizine who's gone for a very, very slight amount more of fuel and on medium tyres. I think maybe there was a bit of a fuel difference between me and him, which meant I come out slightly in front. So I grabbed myself a half-second penalty. I think that was for coming into the pits a little bit too aggressively. So again, penalties don't work quite the same like they do in the normal dailies. You can see a little bit of my time from my penalty's been ground off there. And in general, you kind of take the penalty off at you know, through a little bit of inefficient braking and stuff like that. We've now moved up to 5th place. Well, we're not moved up, that's where we were anyway, but we're in 5th place now. But obviously now we're in front of Vizine. We've got a Lasernator 6 seconds in front, but he still hasn't gone into pit, so he's going to have to go into pit at some point. And as long as we can keep that gap nice and short, which it looks like it's already come down anyway because I'm on the fresher tyres, yeah, it should be able to move up to 4th place as long as we protect our position from a Vizine in front of us. Pulling up to Chubbs, and the top 3 is going to be a bit of an ask, I think, in terms of pacing. I'm quite happy that I'm in a race where I'm just not like at the back 2 or 3 seconds behind, because I was a little bit when I first joined. I was watching a few races, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be well at the back here, because there are some, you know, really fast people in this in the community and in the team itself. So it's been really cool to try and learn from them and see if I can improve my own driving. But it's nice as well to see there's a range of people that I can also have a battle with. That's why we're in the tier 2 race, because if I went into the tier 1 race with all the sort of with quite a lot of the people, especially the fast people in the team, I'd just be nowhere in sight, and there's no entertainment in it for me, being, you know, 12 seconds behind the rest of the race. But we're going to skip forward now. We've actually moved up to 4th place, seeing as then a Lasernator went into pit. And we are in lap 12 now, so we're kind of really at the end of the race. We've got ourselves a lovely gap between us and a Vizine who's about 7 seconds behind. And we've got a gap between us and Chubb's about just over 2 seconds. So we've actually managed to keep up with pace, which I quite honestly I'm quite pleased about, just to keep up on the pace, but not able really to grind down any of the gap significantly. I mean, I'd probably need quite a few more laps to be able to catch up and find the opportunity to get past Chubb's in this race in particular. So I think for me now it's just a case of not doing anything too risky, especially since the tyres maybe are a little bit more worn as we come into the 13th lap. So I would have been on these tyres for about 7 laps now. So yeah, it's been a nice race so far. Like this is the first actual proper race I've really joined them on. I did like the Sunday. They have like a fun day thing where I didn't really do any practice or preparation for. Just kind of hopped in with them and had a mess around on go-karts and stuff. But the first time I've actually tried to join one of their sort of organised races, and I want to make sure that I just basically didn't make a twat of myself, which, you know, nice to see in the first race. On the whole, I didn't. We did some few areas of close racing, especially on the first couple of laps, without any sort of major incidents or anything like that, which is kind of what I want to avoid. And also, in general, just not being sort of miles and miles off the pace. You know, actually being able to sit in the field and compete. You know, I would be quite happy if I was down 6. Or a 7th place, you know, towards the back, and there were still people there to be able to race with. As long as I got a few people to race with, I am a happy boy. But we've come around now. This is the final lap, the final stretch. As I said, not really managed to do anything about the gap on Chubb. Still, you know, a comfortable 2-second gap. But we come through to finish off in 4th place. So this league has a 2-race format. So we do a qualification and then a race, a 20-minute race, and then after that we do a reverse grid race. So basically, the results from the first race, the grid gets reversed, so whoever come last is now starting first. Whoever finished first is now starting off last, and that's how we do a race. So that puts me, as I finished in 4th place out of 9 people, that puts me into 6th place on this race. So I'll be starting off from 6th place. Something we've got to sort of try and consider is obviously the people in front of us in general will have a slower pace than us, which obviously a bit weird when you're starting a race, because you kind of expect the people in front of you to perhaps be a slightly bit faster than you in pace. So kind of have that to consider. And also got to consider the fact that obviously the people behind us are faster than us in pace. So it's kind of making a choice about whether you want to go for those attacks, but also being aware that you're probably going to be being attacked as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these reverse grid races pan out. So we're starting off in 6th place, grid start. Got away to a better start than last time there. A few people away to a bit of a poor start. I think there was a bit of confusion about what sort of start it was, whether it was a proper start or just sort of a countdown start. But we're away. We're sitting in 4th place now. Managed to climb up a couple of positions as we come round now to turn 2 with 3 in front of us. As we come into the second turn now. And we're coming in maybe a little hot here, and we've made contact, and that's bad bit of contact there. We've actually slipped and had an off really early. Probably a little bit maybe aggressive from myself. I think even Chubbs, we were in the chat before, and I think even Chubbs even warned us, you know, be careful of people in front of you are braking earlier. And literally about 10 seconds later, I completely misjudged it. And sort of went in for my normal. Or maybe I was a few meters back from my normal braking marker, like kind of what I do when I am sort of behind people wanting to avoid incidents. But I think maybe someone in front of me just broke so much earlier than what I expected, and I just didn't react to all the traffic in front of me. So a little bit naughty of me there, but pleased to see that the person who's come out of that worst is me. I think, you know, when you're pretty much the primary cause of an accident, as long as you're the one who comes out worse off, then, you know, fair dues. I think a person I hit was Mr. Navoli, who's in 5th place, so apologies if you ever do watch this. You know, it's certainly not my intention to hit people, but I am, without offering too many excuses, I am quite are rusty at the moment, and yeah, a little bit silly for myself, but we can take it as a learning experience and see if now we can kind of face the challenge that's in front of us, which is being in last place really, and trying to work our way up. So we're now skip forward to lap 3, now just behind Deva, or I don't want to say a diva because it's obviously not, it would be spelled differently, so I'm going to say a Deva, who is in 8th place at the minute. Again, quite in general, this track I found, I don't know if it's true for everyone, but I found in general quite hard to find the overtaking opportunities, as he actually makes a bit of a slip there, just with it in general being quite narrow and quite easy to, you know, defend on. There's only maybe 1 or 2 overtaking opportunities that seem to present themselves really, and that's certainly coming down this straight here going into turn 1. At least the track's wide enough for you to be able to choose like the inside or the outside line, and the other person be able to stick to it. So we're sat in slipstream at the minute, gonna slip right to the outside whilst Devers take the inside line, and we're just coming into the braking zone now. And actually, I think I went a little wide than what I remember, just trying to avoid contact, very aware, but I still managed to get past him. I think maybe Devers conceded the position to me there. Again, from what I remember, I think I was braking in the braking zone. I think I saw his car drifting over towards me, so I sort of forced myself off track just to avoid another incident. Certainly not what I want to having another incident so soon after the first one. So certainly not going as smoothly as our first race, but I think there's still quite a lot of value in watching over these kind of races where it hasn't gone so well for you. Certainly, I think you learn a lot more, and certainly I'm going to be a lot more cautious when coming into a reverse grid race, because, you know, as I said earlier, you know, this community kind of opens to a lot of people across different skill levels and stuff, and people in different sort of ability ranges, and you've got to kind of be ready for anything really, and so everyone can still have a fun racing experience, also you know, not really getting in the way of others really. So it's kind of the ethos I want to make sure that I'm kind of on the right side of, rather than being known as someone who just smashes people off on the second or third corner of a race. But we're now in lap 7, so we've already had our pit and stuff. We're still quite a way behind the people in front of us, but they're all now coming to their pit, so might lead us a bit of an opportunity to come in and perhaps make a bit of a push and move a little bit further up than a 7th place. I know it says we're not in 7th place, it says we're in 8th place. We've still got about a 4-second gap between us and Jay, which is slowly grinding down as he's just come out of the pits, and I sort of have a bit of speed on him in terms of that thing. So about 3.5 seconds behind, and perhaps if I can, although he's got the fresher tyres on, knowing kind of, perhaps I might be able to have a bit of pace in them, and there's still about 5 laps left in this race. I'm going to start to try and push and see if I can grind down that gap, especially since, again, himself, just like before, he might be finding himself in a bit of a battle with a Vazine. Definitely gives me the opportunity to, again, try and just to make that push. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see if I can bring that down and make some progress, which again sits just over 3 seconds, and it's actually rapidly dropped down there, 1.5 seconds. So we've managed to move pretty quickly there. I think he must have made a mistake, maybe he had a bit of a slip out on the corner, lost himself a second or a second and a half. And again, it's afforded me the opportunity to really push up that gap now, which is just over 1 second as we come round to the end of lap 8, coming into lap 9. So we've probably got about 4 more laps here to be able to make a move on Jay and possibly move ourselves up into 7th place, which I think, again, you know, I probably could have, if I hadn't had that off on the first lap, probably could have finished this race again, maybe in the same place, in 4th place. I think, again, Chubbs and Bradley and Tom, certainly Tom and Bradley are definitely well ahead of me in pace. Chubbs, I seem to be keeping up with the last race, but again, it could have just been you know, that I was getting a really good laps on, but I feel like I could perhaps make in a few tacks and be able to match pace, but Certainly not looking to win any of the races anytime soon, just looking to take part and not, like I said, ruin anyone else's day, which so I kind of feel alright that the only person's day I ruined is kind of my own, with the exception of Mr. Navali. I think Bradley Carter got a bit caught up with me as well, so apologies as of them too, but it doesn't seem to impact them that much in terms of where they are in the race, so all's well that ends well. So yeah, we're still stuck behind Jay here, waiting for our chance to kind of make a move. Not close enough certainly on this turn to on this lap to make a move. He's got himself a nice comfortable 1 second gap, so it's his last a second that I'm struggling to pull down. He must be sort of aware that I have been pulling up behind him, and that in turn sort of made him bring up his game as well. So this is why it's good to race against people, you know, in general. Like, you raise your game and it works out for everybody. It's only, you know, knocked off a few attempts, so we've managed to bring that gap a little bit closer. Time-wise on the right, certainly not as consistent as my first race. I think I was pretty consistent in my first race. You can see kind of made a few mistakes, certainly through those first 5 laps, a bit off the pace, but now kind of hitting my stride at, I think I was hitting the mid 132s in my practice, and I think that's what I got in my qualies, maybe a little bit more than that in my quali. That's the pace that I know I can set. And you can now see I've really pushed up that gap between myself and Jay, with only being a few attempts. We're kind of in attack range now. Just got to now just sort of wait for the opportunity, wait for the right time, either from a mistake from him to be able to just make the easy pass, or from an opportunity we can sort of forge for ourselves through the one straight, as we actually lose a little bit of grip there. So unfortunately he's going to pull a bit of a gap away from us. Seem to take a different line through this bit, and now come to the long straight and see if we've got ourselves inside those tempers again. He kind of runs himself a little wide, which would cost him just that little bit of pace, and maybe the pace I need as I sit inside slipstream range. So we're going to have an overtaking opportunity here and see if we can make the most of it, as it looks like we've taken the inside line as he's taking the outside line. And we're just going to go into the corner and see if we can get to the apex first. We've got in front of him, and looks like we've got the overtake there, as he actually comes and makes a little bit of contact with me on the right hand side. Surely not intentional, just looking to come in and keep competitive, as now he comes up on the inside of me there, and I'm going to have to take the outside line as he's got himself there. And I've committed, but maybe I've outbroke myself, paying more attention to him than me, and he did the same as well and actually overrun a little bit, so we both kind of lost the concentrations there. But he's come out of that slightly in the lead still, but me still within range to be able to still make an attack and see if I can return this attack and come back and take the position, as I find myself pushing to try and keep that gap with him as tight as I can, without getting in range to hit him, just enough that he knows I'm there, and perhaps force him into. Has actually come off there, my second off on lap 11. Yeah, I think just pushing too hard there, in trying to put a bit of pressure on Jay and trying to force him into a mistake which he made on the sort of first race. Just, you know, putting a little bit too much on myself and pushing too hard caused me to slip. Not considering sort of tyre wear towards the later part of this race, as we're in lap 11, so we've only got realistically 1 or 2 more laps left. And yeah, it's kind of cemented my position really. It's looking like I'm going to finish in 8th place. I can't see a Dever behind us be able to pull it up, and yeah, the gap between myself and Jay is too big to come back now. So a good bit of battling between me and Jay, maybe not the cleanest between either of us, so definitely something I'm going to have to work on. But at the same time, you know, we didn't hit each other off, which is always a bonus. So as we come into the final lap now, and it looks like we're going to finish this. So yeah, 2 races overall. One obviously performed much better than the other. This one kind of made a couple of mistakes and have been made to pay for them. You know, something I can try and learn from, try and improve. Do feel a bit rusty after not playing for about 3 months, so not offering as a complete excuse, but also I'm sure after getting a few more races under my belt I'll feel a little bit more confident. But yeah, that was my first time sort of taking part in some of the private leagues that they do here. That was actually, I don't know if you want to call it round 3, because it was like, you know, the third time that people had got together and taken part in that race, or if you want to call it, you know, round 5 and 6, because it was, you know, each time we get together it's 2 races, you know, the first one and then the reverse grid. So I'm going to call it a round 3 because it makes me feel better about myself. So that was round 3 of 5 rounds, I think, that I've taken part in the Beetle series, which we're going to try and take part in every week. Obviously we won't be able to sort of compete in terms of the overall standings and the numbers, having joined sort of the series about midway through, but at least just be able to shake off some of the rust and be able to just get back behind the wheel and build up the race confidence again, which has been it got completely smashed by the sort of end of the last the FIA season, where I'd actually did a couple of races that I never put out on the YouTube channel, which I just got absolutely destroyed in. Again, just, you know, going out on track and getting smashed off, which I'm not going to claim that I'm a saint. You can just obviously, you know, I made a mistake myself and got, you know, hit into somebody. You know, these things happens, but when it happens, when people clearly don't care and, you know, just don't want to even try to have a clean race, it just gets really frustrating, and that's where I was. But no, it's really good and really encouraging to be part of this. So yeah, I look forward to making more videos in terms of the races I take part in and stuff. And yeah, keep your eye out for the commentary, because I'll be providing a commentary for different races that they do and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So it's good to be back. I'll have a video again soon, I'm sure. Just keep an eye out, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. All right, cheers, bye.